If you have ever felt like you're taking too long to get somewhere, you're behind, things aren't going the way that you expected them to, and you can tell that that mindset isn't helping you, but you can't shift from it, then this video is for you. Today we're going to be talking about how there is no such thing as wasted time and changing the way that we engage with our own personal journey in order to shift out of mindsets that spiral us into more of a depression state, anxiety about the pace at which we are living our own life. 5 tips that help you shift the way that you view your life and your own personal journey, whether that is spiritual, academic, financial goals, life goals, family goals, whatever it is, so that you can start seeing yourself more clearly and your journey more clearly in a way that actually helps you advocate for yourself more on your own path, instead of feeling like you are gaslighting yourself into feeling as if you're not doing enough or fast enough at the rate that other people are doing it. The first tip is to view your experiences as necessary. So when we start to feel like we've wasted time, these things that we wasted, like let's say it's a relationship that didn't end well, or it was very toxic, or you were at a job that you didn't like. All of these things, when we view them from the wrong lens, it can feel like we've wasted huge chunks of our lives. We've experienced things that we didn't need to for longer than we needed to. So the first step is to recognize the lessons we gain from it. So extracting the lessons from those experiences is going to allow you to see how much they added to. Because of the way that life is, duality and the contrast is what helps us really ingrain and imprint messages and memories and lessons more clearly. So the experiences that you've had where relationships didn't end well, let's say it was because of communication, or you didn't necessarily like the way that you felt you had to show up in that relationship, then the next time you date someone or interact with someone, you're going to take those experiences into that new relationship. If you are allowing yourself to extract the lessons, you're not focusing on how much that person hurt you or why things didn't go well. You're thinking more about how you can make yourself better, your life better. The next time, you know that the boundaries that you lacked in that relationship, you won't lack in the next one. Or you'll work out that when someone tells you something and says something to you, but there's no action behind it, then that person is not in alignment with what you want for yourself. Whether you feel like they're not honest with themselves, then they can't be honest with you. There's certain things that when we choose to view them from the perspective of adding to our life, instead of feeling like all they did was detract, then we work out how much those experiences really helped blossom and make our life better. A simple analogy for this would be like composting. When you compost, you're literally taking your trash, the leftovers, things that you no longer want, they're to be discarded, except instead of deciding that they should just go into a trash can, we decide that we're going to put them into this compost bin. They'll break down, and the nutrients that are still viable in that food can then be used to put on your plants to grow your plants. It's the same concept. The things that you experience, if we just view them as trash or things that didn't help us and they made us sad, they made us angry, they hurt us, they violated our boundaries, that's one way of looking at it, and it can make you feel stuck. Now, this isn't the same thing as just getting over something that you experience. It's a very different energy. When we're acknowledging our emotions and the things that we have experienced, we're allowing ourselves to have that full emotional range. And then from that point, we're allowing ourselves to now say, it is okay and it is time for me to move on. When you give yourself permission to do that, it feels less like you're being forced into being okay with something that you're not okay with. The next tip that I have for you is to not internalize the societal pressures that we all face. So because of conditioning and exposure to different programs, or when you go to school, your peers, that peer pressure based on their home lives, all of that stuff can have an impact on the way that we yourselves, our success, and whether or not our life experiences were adding to or if they just were wasted time. Another aspect of that is because of sort of the highlight reel that we get from not just social media, but life in general, when you're watching TV programs, if you pay attention to things from a psychological perspective and less of this is entertaining, you can see how much societal scripting if your parents or you grew up in a home where it's like gender roles and the way that you're supposed to do this and the way that a man is supposed to show up and the way a woman is supposed to show up, if that is something you've internalized, the way that you as your race or your culture is supposed to show up in life, if you've internalized that to a level where you're no longer able to see where your unique perspective and individuality fits in, you're going to be operating from a space of external pressure becoming internal manifestations. So if you feel like you are wasting your time because certain people in your life do certain things a certain way, or people your age should be at a certain place in life, then you're going to feel like you're either A, not doing enough, or B, like where you are is not something to celebrate and acknowledge as a positive. Because these things are internalized, it means that they live in our mind. So the process of unlearning certain things is going to be beneficial if you feel like you're not in control. You're missing out, you're too late for something, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a mindset shift that you need to step into or step away from. So this can feel initially kind of like you're lying to yourself or you're being a little bit delusional, but it really isn't. It's acknowledging that maybe the path that you believed that you were on or you were holding yourself to a certain standard is actually not one that you align with. And then when you acknowledge where that maybe came from, maybe your parents and the pressure that they put on you or the pressure that they felt, and sometimes it's not even your parents. Sometimes it's literally just you. It's the way that you're interacting with the world and the way that you believe that the world is structured and set up. So if you think that people your age should be doing X, Y, and Z and you're not doing that because it's not something you desire for yourself, you are going to feel misaligned. So this is a personal problem that can be solved by shifting our mindset and aligning with something that is more authentic to us, more truthful to our desires. The third tip that I have for you is to not take things personal. When you're on your own journey and it is taking longer than you expected, or you took the scenic route, and you look around and you see other people doing things in their own life in the way that they want to, and they're showing up for themselves in a way that is in alignment with them, you cannot take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. And sometimes we can make ourselves feel like we're not doing enough because we're too busy focusing on how our life is not in alignment with someone else. And the things that you desire for yourself may take you longer. It may be something that you can't do in a short amount of time. But if you see it as valuable and necessary for you, you're not going to feel like you're doing it wrong or it's too late. There are so many opportunities in society for you to feel bad about yourself, for you to feel like you don't have enough confidence or you shouldn't believe in yourself. And these are moments when we need to stop and pause and really reflect on why we're doing something. By not taking things personally, you're allowing yourself to literally separate from any narrative that is not in alignment with you. The fourth tip that I have for you is to get 1% better every single time. Something that allows us to be confident in the way that we're journeying through life is to realize that every single time we're advancing just a little bit more. You don't need to be perfect. And every time you show up more in alignment with yourself and your desires, the better you get. It's natural. And by allowing yourself to learn, unlearn, shift, and reshift, you're saying that what you did here, you're ready to move into something a little bit more advanced or more creative, more full, and more in alignment with where you desire to be for yourself. Whether that is a goal that you have, that's a hobby that you have, that's something, it's a side project, every single time you engage with that thing, every time you pick it back up, every time you go back to it, just think to yourself, I am not trying to be perfect. I am trying to be better than what I did last time. Whether that means, you learn a new editing trick or a new way of conveying your message. If that means that you're waking up earlier every single day, or you go to bed at night on time, whatever it is, you're getting a little bit better at the things that you desire for yourself. Never skip past the mundane things that we're doing, the everyday things. These are the systems that literally are going to help us propel ourselves forward. So when you think that what you're doing here doesn't relate to what you're doing over there, it actually does. Because a lot of things are just the habits that we're building, the systems that we have. If you have self-sabotaging habits or thought patterns, then these are things that are going to impact your job, your relationships, your ability to achieve things, your confidence. It's all connected. Don't ever think to yourself, well, I like gardening, I like writing, I like, biking, and that's kind of silly, right? It doesn't help me in my job hunting skills. It doesn't help me in my communication skills. Whatever it is that you think it's not connected to, it actually is. Because when your foundation is solid, when you know yourself, when you're allowing yourself to explore your inner world, your own thoughts freely without judgment, you can show up and literally something that you haven't had any skills in, you're able to open your mind and learn something new, connect with people in a different way that you couldn't before, because you're allowing yourself to explore your own space in the way that you want to. You're not seeing it as you're not doing it enough. The fifth tip that I have for you is to recognize that the journey is valid. Your journey is valid. The way that you are showing up in life, the steps that you are taking to gain clarity on either yourself, the people around you, is absolutely necessary. Sometimes we think to ourselves, when we're feeling like we're wasting time, we're wasting our life. Am I even doing this right? What am I doing? Do I know what I'm doing? A lot of times that comes from not seeing things very clearly. First of all, by the time you move out of your parents' house, let's pretend you're in your maybe early 20s, right? Even if you were younger than that, it's irrelevant. Let's just say you're in your 20s when you move out of your parents' house. A lot of us in our 20s have no idea what we're doing, and we're unsure. Even as we progress forward into our 30s, that's still a space where we're kind of figuring it out, but you get comfortable with the idea that you don't know everything. If you think of it as, I have to know all of this because I'm 21 and now I'm an adult, think back to not that long ago, you were very dependent on the people around you. Being an adult doesn't mean that you don't ask questions, that you're not confused, that you're not learning still. All of that is necessary. The other side of it is if you have kids and you're showing up differently for your children and you're changing generational patterns and thinkings and behaviors that were introduced during your childhood. That is not something that is going to happen overnight. That's also a very valid journey. That is something that is absolutely beautiful, because you're not just impacting yourself, but the future of your children and ultimately the people who are going to inhabit this earth. When you think of the experiences that you have and the journey that you're on, even if you said something like, I have a regular 9-to-5 job, but I have this passion to write. I have this passion to connect to people through poetry, through short stories. That is a valid journey. That is something that people think it's just a hobby, or it's not, something that you should be focusing on. It's a waste of time. Why? All of that is absolutely part of your human experience. And if you acknowledge that every single piece of you, every single interest, hobby, curiosity, stepping off the path, all of that, those detours are necessary because they give you more experience. They allow you to see yourself more clearly. Even if you're in a state where you are dead broke, you don't have anything to your name, you're couch hopping or you're relying on other people to help you navigate through a space. If you think of yourself as a bum and you're not positive about what it means from this point forward, you'll never feel like that was ever valuable. But what if you kept going? When you reached your goals, you would look back and you would be grateful for the things that you experienced at that point. you would recognize that all of that helps shift your mindset. What if years down the line, when you're very successful, you're married and you have kids, and you meet someone who is in that same space as you, and they feel like they're not doing enough, or life is passing them by, they've wasted time, and you're brought back to that memory. And now, instead of feeling like, wow, that sucks, right, for me, what I experienced, you can actually tell them, oh my gosh, I was there too. I remember what that was like. And you can explain it to them in a way that is validating for them, is helping them inspire new action, new thoughts. That is the point of the human experience, the connections that we make with other people, the lessons that we share, the ability to see ourselves very clearly in the faces of people who don't look like us. When you validate your journey and you recognize that it is absolutely necessary, you'll start shifting and moving as if it is. And you'll inspire people around you to take action in their own life. The last tip that I have for you is to focus on gaining clarity. When we think that our life is full of wasted moments or we're not doing enough, a lot of times it's because we're not seeing things clearly. We're not able to pinpoint exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. Also, this ties back into the whole social pressure and society, is that typically what you want to do is going to be different than majority of the people around you. You might find people online who are doing something similar or interested in the same thing, but they're not right there in your face living life with you. So we can kind of forget that our unique perspective is just as valid or is going to help someone. So by gaining clarity, it means looking at the things that you're doing, getting a plan together, a step-by-step guide, roughly. It doesn't need to be Monday at 2 p.m. I do this. It means that you're, in general, this is your bigger goal, and this is the things that you want to achieve or feel and experience in that pursuit of that goal. And then constantly remind yourself of that. Don't look at other people and what they're doing and then feel like you're not on the right path because the people around you are not interested in doing the same thing as you. As someone who wants to create videos on YouTube, there isn't anybody in my life that is doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing. I have to remind myself of what my goals are and what I want to do and why I'm doing it in the first place. And my desire to help other women to shift their mindsets, to see themselves a little more clearly every single day, and to show up for themselves more is something that I genuinely want to do. It is a very massive desire for me. And if I wasn't clear on that, every time I turned on this camera, turned it off, edited these videos, I would think to myself that I don't know a lot of people doing this. It's wasting time. What am I really doing? I'm going to be grateful that I kept going, because later on, when the influence and the impact that I desire to have, the community that I desire to build, when it manifests and it's here, I am going to feel like it was always meant to happen. The timing, the way that it was meant to show up, the way that I did it was meant for me. But if I don't have a clear vision of how my unique individuality is it having a unique experience in this world, and I am pulling down my own lessons and experiences that are different from other people, I am going to get distracted. So while you're trying to figure out what you want to do, don't think of any of it as wasted time. Think of it as all of that will be packaged up into a unique experience that when it is shared with those around you, those you are meant to have an impact on, it is going to shift the narrative for someone else. It is going to shift your life, your energy, and that is such a beautiful thing. Yeah, I hope that you gained something from this. As always, that you felt like you were seen and connected a little bit more to yourself and your own journey. And I will see you in the next one.